Okay, well, this seems to me like a pretty good enough size group to get started. I think we'll do that, especially because it's a shorter session. So I just want to welcome everyone to this presentation. It's nice to see some familiar and friendly faces in the room. It's also nice to see some people that I've seen their names in a lot of different places, but perhaps I've never had an opportunity to talk to. Some new people in general that I just look forward to getting to know better after this presentation. So my name is Alecia Radatz. I work for Educational Outreach and Student Services. I'll go through this presentation and explain a little bit about what that means. But basically, we have a lot of data that's out there, and some data is readily available. Some data will become more readily available in the future. And so I just want to help empower the data community to have all of the knowledge they need to know and about what that data might be and what to look forward to in the future. A couple of things just to note right off the bat. We do have Amy Michaelenko here from Career and Professional Development Services. She is one of the fearless leaders as it relates to that area and is really an expert in a lot of the data and technology systems since she was the one who onboarded a lot of them and has really good institutional knowledge. And then I got very lucky, and Zach Walker is actually the person who is helping facilitate the Zoom room, but it's super lucky because he's actually partnered with us on a lot of our different educational outreach and student services initiatives and knows quite a bit about our data as well. So I welcome both of those two as well. So I will get started and just share my screen. So as you guys know, this presentation is called Add Some Spice, Student Services Data. I think oftentimes student services data is a really great supplement to understand, I think, a lot of the great work that's going on at the university already related to academics and finances and enrollment. And that student services information can really provide a different flavor of information to understand how students are engaging, building community, are healthy and well, and are otherwise doing in terms of their skill building and some other outcomes at the university. This session, I think I listed that it was for data citizens, but it really can be for everyone. This is going to be a generalist overview of some of the data that we have or will have. And so that can be useful for people who are really into the data and can write a lot of complex code, or for people who are using pre-built reports. So I think it could be useful for any of the groups that we have. So to go through the agenda for today, I'm going to do a general overview of educational outreach and student services so that you know the sort of wide amount of data we have as a part of the department, and then do a deeper dive into 5 areas, namely career, housing, new student orientation experience, family programs, and clubs and organizations. As I mentioned, some of this is going to be about saying that we have data or that data is going to become more available in the future. And so really, if you take away anything from this presentation, it's that to make sure that you connect with me if you do have any questions or anything, anything besides that. Okay, so we're going to do, to start, the overview for educational outreach and student services. So who we are is pretty informative based off of the title. So there's the educational outreach component, there's the student services component, and then ASU preparatory academies are also with us. Today is really going to focus on some of the student services areas. And when we think about our data, we have a lot of key questions that guide us. The main one is, how are students doing? And then what can we do to help them? And we have some evaluation questions about how well our programs and services do that. And then we have some assessment type questions about whether or not they're learning the things we think they need to learn. But throughout all of this, we have some clear commitment to outcomes. And in that, we have 3 pillars in student services that we really pay attention to, called community building, skill building, and well-being. And so we have a commitment to all 3 of those areas to make sure that all of our programs and all of our areas really support building those 3 pillars up so that our students can have the infrastructure and the support they need to be able to engage in their academics successfully. And then we also have a commitment to other larger university goals, including access, retention, graduation, and then undifferentiated outcomes is woven through all of our areas. So for areas and data, we have a lot of them, and this isn't even all of them. I think TRIO's missing from here. There's probably about 10 others, but these are some of the big ones that I think are important for the community to know about. One is career and professional development services. So we'll be talking a little bit about career in this presentation, but that's going to be our sort of central hub at the university that's going to help connect students to businesses and opportunities and trainings to make sure that they are ready for whatever career they want to engage in, and can include things like fairs and coaching appointments and all of that. Sun Devil Fitness and Wellness. So that's going to be our engagement in our Sun Devil Fitness Center. So who's going to our Sun Devil Fitness Centers, and also who's going to our related Sun Devil Fitness and Wellness events. All of our events have learning outcomes attached to them to help understand how they're engaging in events that might help them with wellness over specific wellness topics. We also have student accessibility. You might know it as SAILS, or the DRC as it was formerly called. And this is going to be our area of the university that's going to help students who have accessibility concerns or needs, get them connected with tools and resources and support so that they can be able to engage in the university successfully. This area is going to help our students who have short-term or long-term disabilities, just general accessibility needs, mental and physical, sort of anything that runs the gamut of accessibility is going to be within that area. We also have two areas within the Dean of Students Office: student rights and responsibility and student advocacy. Student rights and responsibility, that's going to be where our conduct is located as it relates to violating the student code of conduct and things like that. And then student advocacy is going to be our group that's going to help students who are feeling bullied, who are struggling because they have a death in the family, things like that. But both of those sets of data are pretty tightly guarded, but it is helpful to know that we do look at that information, we do have it, and we are trying to make meaning out of it to help our students. Another area that is protected, probably the most protected, is our health and counseling services data. That's going to be who's going to health appointments, who's going to counseling appointments, what's their diagnoses, what are their results on lab tests. And so that information we don't share unless there is a HIPAA, unless someone is under the HIPAA covered entity, and that is for very extreme reasons that would ever happen. And then some of our less protected data include fraternity and sorority life. So who are fraternity and sorority life students, who is being initiated, what are their service hours, how much money have they raised for philanthropy, things like that. And then similarly, we have our clubs and organization information. And we'll talk a little bit about that in today's presentation as well as university housing. So where do our students live? New student orientation experience. So how are students engaging in our modules? And then we have two other areas. So our family information. So we believe students engaging with their families can help make a student be more successful at the university, and also that family members might be interested in their own university trajectory. So we have some intentional programming around that. And then we have Access ASU in our pre-college space. So for the last 10 minutes, we're going to get into the 5 data areas that I mentioned, talk a little bit about what's available out there or what's about to come. So to start, we're going to spend most of our time on career. So we have some career engagement data. This data is going to be collected through Handshake and the Mentor Network. And it's going to cover things about career fair attendance, career event attendance, career workshops, career appointments, resume reviews, practice interviews. So those are some of our like high impact practice engagements. So we can know how many students went to these things, when did they go, what's their frequency, who did they meet with. All of that information is information we have available. One area I'm really excited about is our experiences data. So we have, I think, about half of the colleges in the experiences module within Handshake, but that information is really going to be, I think, allowing students to put in their information about what internships they might have or other sorts of experiences while they're here at the university. We do right now a lot of our experience reporting after they leave the university, but this is the experiences module provides an opportunity to capture that while they're here at the university. And I think there's going to be a lot of good data that comes out of that. And then we have career interests and communities. So students are telling us what field they want to be in and what area they're interested in. And so that information is available as well and can help loads of people be able to have really good, meaningful conversations with students about their future. So what's relevant for all of you guys to know is that we're actively working to get this information into the data warehouse right now. It's our priority one in terms of working with Jason Green and his team. And we're going to have a long-term interest in making sure this information gets better integrated throughout our university systems. But just as a warning, I think to everyone is that the information in Handshake is as good as the information that goes into it. So all students are seeded into Handshake once they enroll at the university. But if there's career fairs and career events that are maybe housed outside of CPDS or housed outside of certain colleges, but that information is not in Handshake, we won't have the visibility on it. So this is also sort of a call to action to say, hey, when we're doing those sorts of things, whether it be experiences or career fairs or career events, other workshops, partner with CPDS so that we can get that information with Handshake so that information can be broadly available to the university. And then one other final thing to note on engagement is we also know the engagement of our alumni. So alumni don't lose access to Handshake. And so all of the same kinds of tracking for that information will still be around for alumni. So as they apply for jobs, as they attend career fairs at the university, that information will still be in Handshake as well. And they still receive the great services that Handshake allows them to participate in. This is just a quick snapshot of a dashboard that we have. We'll be rolling this out more intentionally with our new VP over the area to academic colleges so that academic colleges can see this information very clearly about how many of their currently enrolled students are engaging in our high impact practices related to career and can include applications, appointments, mentor network, all the things I talked about earlier, and be able to look at things and say, hey, how are freshmen engaging differently than seniors? What majors are really engaging versus others? Maybe some majors don't have as many career opportunities presented to them or aren't engaging as much. And so we have a lot of, I think, excitement around this, to be able to connect this information with colleges in particular so that they can use this in their own strategic planning collaboratively. Another area that we have as it relates to data, and I can take absolutely zero credit for any of this work, but Zach Walker right now is working on the career milestones dashboard that you see there. But this has really been a collaborative effort across CPDS in particular, with Amy really driving a lot of that. The mobile app team and the UTO visualization team, and it's available through both MyIssue and mobile app through Identical Experiences. What career milestones are is that it's an interactive tool. It allows them to engage in a self-guided tour of a career to-do list and then ask things about like, hey, do you have an up-to-date resume? Have you built an online presence? Have you built a professional network? And so we have that data to be able to track how students are sort of self-reporting their engagement in those key career milestones. And then the last area for a career that I just want to mention, I think many people at the university know about this, but career partners with UOEEE and other college partners across the university on the NACE First Destination Survey. So this is a national survey in which we supplement a few questions to it, but really ask the questions about what are students' post-college outcomes. And those outcomes are going to include things like employment, the employment location, their salary. Did students at the end of it say that they completed an experience? So was it did they have a paid or unpaid internship, here at the university while they were here? What was their most important one? What businesses were they connected to in that? So all of that's available for our students who complete that survey. That survey is administered through Handshake presently. And important for this group to know is that all graduating students are given this information. That includes online, that includes graduate students, and they get this survey 1 month before graduation, and it's open for 6 months after. And we really use this information for our university-wide rankings, evaluation of programs. So we can ask questions like, well, do students who participate in fraternity and sorority life have higher career outcomes than students who don't? And so we have this information available and can connect and work with others to have this information if you're interested. Just to go through this briefly, for housing, we have questions about who live on campus. I just want this group to know that I really prefer the Res Housing Booking View as the place in which you're going to get this information, and you're going to look at it by term code and booking status. What that allows you to do is get rid of any ickiness of the beginning of school year, to understand who's currently in room, maybe from summer, who has a reservation for the fall, and who has checked in because they are in room after move-in. So I think if I was to point this group to anything, it'd be to look at that table. And just some reminders, students can move rooms, can leave housing. At the beginning of the year, they might be in guaranteed housing, which is a code word for hotels often. And so whatever you're using for housing, you want to make sure that it's refreshing constantly to make sure you have an accurate picture of where those students are at. And then there is a historical view as well. New student orientation experience. It changed from a few years ago, but basically there are now 3 modules in which students can engage in new student orientation experience. There's still the traditional registration for an academic advising session. There is a dashboard for new student orientation experience that heavily managed and developed through UTO partnership. And so that's available for people who don't have access to it. And so please reach out to me if you don't have access and you are interested. But this is going to tell us, I think, in the last year, it's going to tell us how students are engaging before they come to college very differently than just sort of the one and done orientation visit. Next, we have our family programs. This is just to let you guys know that there is something called the Family Hub now at ASU. If you haven't heard, this is where families can provide updated information for contact. Sometimes we use lists that are going to be based off of admissions information. And so there is another data source out there if you need more updated information for some families. And this is also an FYI to this group to know that there is an initiative going on getting a master family member record so that we always have the most updated information about our parents that we're engaging with. And then finally, clubs and organizations. This is next on our list after we finish career to put it into the data warehouse. We do have data on clubs and organizations. It's as good as the information that's in there. We do not require clubs and organizations to manage a updated list of rosters, but this information lives in Sun Devil Sync or Engage, and it includes information about their organization name, rosters, if they have them, constitution, the advisors, officers, those are pretty well updated within the system. Events and event attendance. And so it might be useful for this group to know that event attendance for all fall welcome events is in Sun Devil Sync and other major events. And there is a check-in process available for students. So if a club is putting on an event, a student can check in through that app to say that they're there. And then we used to track service hours within this platform, but we're moving to a different one that's going to allow us to track service hours in the spring. So if your area does track service hours, that's going to be something that you're going to maybe want to think about seeing how you can integrate with Sun Devil Sync or integrate with this attached platform so that you can track that information across the university in the same way that you might otherwise do in sort of your homegrown system. And so I ran through that very fast with probably about 30 seconds to spare, but I just wanted to say, I think, thank you. And hopefully this provides you the opportunity to think about some questions that you might have, connect with me. I can find ways to connect with you about any questions that you might have. So I know we're at 10:20, but if anyone has any questions and wants to stay for about 5 minutes longer, I'm happy to do so. Great. So I think pending no questions, happy to connect with any of you guys after this meeting.